Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. Welcome, everyone. My guest this week is Mike Roberts. And Mike and I met through a networking group called Virtual 5 O'Clock. V50 is the name of it. I've talked a little bit about it on the podcast. So I've interviewed a lot of people from V50. And Mike is one of those guys I met. It's a great group. I say this all the time when I talk about it, but the bottom line is it's a really great group of people that just want to help other people in business. So it's like, it's really simplifying it, but it's connecting to people, telling them what you want, and then other people just saying like, how can we help you get it? How can we help you get there? I love the group. I've been involved now for probably like, I would say 4 or 5 months. It's awesome. And I met some wonderful people, and that's how I met Mike. So thanks, Mike. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Julie. Really appreciate it.
So let's start off with our first, I don't know a ton about your background. I know a little bit about it when we talk on the phone every Thursday with our networking call, but I know what you're doing now is in insurance. I know you have a new thing you got going on, so we can talk about that. Mm-hmm. And then how you got from, I think, in the music world into the insurance business, and what was your journey?
Okay, so the journey started when I was probably 17, and one of my best friend's uncles was the producer for the largest rock and roll promoter in the world at the time in New York City, Ron Delsner, and I was kind of his personal assistant. And like every upwardly mobile young kid, you want to do your boss's job, and you quickly find out that you don't have the ability to do your boss's job until you're in his shoes. Yeah. But I did that successfully for a very long time and ended up touring with bands. I was on the road with major national acts, the Beach Boys, Simon and Garfunkel, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Hot Tuna, Electric and Acoustic, Joan Jett. So it was an interesting way to grow up, both in the New York area and then on the road with bands doing, different types of production jobs. But I had to get off the road when I was turning 30 because I'd gotten married and my wife was due with our first child. And everybody I knew in the rock and roll business that stayed on the road eventually went home one day, and there was a note on the door saying goodbye with no furniture.
Yeah.
Right. So that wasn't for me. So my mom, who's still alive, she's 94, told me, you would be really good in the insurance business. And I was like, Mom, you've been nipping at the vodka, right? Like, no. You communicate well and you like to help people, and I think it'd be a good job for you. So taking Mom's advice, I had to slowly transition out of rock and roll and being on the road to being a stay-at-home dad. Excuse me. So I interviewed with some friends of mine that I knew in the business, and because I had a background in my college education was business communications. So I had the business acumen and I did the ability to speak. So I thought, okay, if I can make a living doing this, and I will tell you, it's the hardest job I've ever loved because I really enjoy helping people, and I get paid to do it. Sometimes I pinch myself and I go, they just paid me to do what I would have done anyhow.
Yeah.
So it's a really wonderful business. So I ended up starting in the insurance business 33 years ago and have basically transcended from teenage rock and roll and then into the insurance business. And now it's a full-blown consulting practice with 3 or 4 different verticals.
It's crazy that your mom, especially telling a young, you were a young man, you had a wife and a kid coming, right. Just like, okay, Mom, you'd be really good in this. Okay. And then for you to try it and then just stay there. Like instead of, usually you get stories where like, I tried it and then I was like, what are you talking about? This is not right for me. But right. You did it. Like, so you just knew it would be a good life if you were going to be a family man and stay around. And
yeah, well, I needed benefits. There were no benefits in the rock and roll business. Maybe the managers and the act had benefits, but everybody else was a consultant, a 1099. Whether you either worked for the lighting company or the sound company, or you were in the union. But I was in none of those. So I needed benefits. I had a wife and a child on the way, and I ended up getting into the insurance business. And I had met my wife actually in 1980 when we did all the production and built out a site from scratch for the Beach Boys in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Monument on the lawn. And I met her the day after the show, like like everybody meets their spouse in a bar. And that blossomed into a long, distance relationship. She was in Northern Virginia, I was in New York. And eventually, we ended up living together in sin. Her mother just couldn't bring herself to admit that to anybody, that her daughter was living in sin in New York with a guy in the rock and roll business. But eventually, I transitioned out of that and into the insurance business. And fast forward 33 years, I have my own firm. It's called CPT Wealth, Create, Protect, and Transfer Wealth. And I work with individuals and companies from all walks of life. I'm industry agnostic, and it's all about risk transfer. It's wealth creation and risk transfer. And the people that you met, where we met at Virtual 5 o'clock, one of the founders, Alan Kay, is also in the insurance business, but he's in the property and casualty business. So he insures tangible things, your building, your car, your office, your artwork, your boat. I insure the intangible. I like to tell people I sell money for future delivery. And what that means is at a triggering event, when someone either dies or becomes disabled or retires or needs long-term care or to create an income stream for life, those are all triggering events in your life. Or a child is born, a good thing, or you get a home and you need to protect the mortgage, or you're a doctor's office and you get a new x-ray machine and the lending company that financed your new machine wants you to have insurance because they want to get paid. So there's always a component of insurance needed. It just depends on whether it's an individual need or a business need and a stage of life.
Okay.
But I will tell you this, I'm the only one that brings a check.
Oh, there you go.
I'm fortunate I've been to a few funerals because that's part of my job also, is when someone passes away. And it's funny, it doesn't matter if they're Roman Catholic or Jewish or Protestant or Hindus, or the only person that brings a check is the insurance guy, because the shaman, the rabbi, the priest, the caterer, the funeral director, they all want to get paid. So it's a good feeling. It really is. Not when someone dies, but
you're unburdening them a little bit to a degree when they're fully burdened by all these other things.
Well, you know what? I've never had a widow or a widower say to me that wasn't enough insurance. The question was, did they have more?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I do. And you did mention one of the other things that I'm involved with is a new company. It's called Self-Certify. And Self-Certify is what we're calling a sane, safe alternative to all the noise in the COVID space. A bunch of professionals that I work with in different verticals in the world, in business, came together to create a group, if you will, a community of like-minded people. And I'll oversimplify it, but if you think of people that would pay for Clear at the airport because they didn't want to wait online, or would get Chewy pet food delivered to their home, or Blue Apron, people that are used to paying for a service and have a certain expectation. Our service is information and a community and product. So we will have the ability when we launch, we were supposed to launch last week, but trying to get a business portal launched on Apple is proving a lot more difficult than signing a piece of paper. But that's the only holdup right now, because we'll have a store where people can buy products, everything from air filtration systems for your home or business, to masks, to gloves, to sprays, disinfectants, all kinds of testing kits. So that's going to be a B2C model with an app that people can join. So we're really excited about that. And it's selfcertified.com. And hopefully by the time this airs, we will be up and running. So if people are interested, they can join. And we're going to build a community, and we're going to have a lot of good articles and information. And I think it'll be very popular in that I think people are starved for good information. There's so much fake news and so much noise in that space that we really do believe there's a niche there that we can help fill.
That's awesome. Solving problems. I love it. So
Yeah.
as you were building your business, so you've been in the business for over 3 decades. Obviously, you love it. You said you love it,
I
and
do.
you're good at it. You want to be able to do this line and raise a family. What was along the way? I'm sure it wasn't all just, you have your own thing now. Along the way, as you were progressing and learning and growing and probably struggling a little bit, I imagine, like you don't just start your insurance in the insurance
Oh,
business
yeah.
and make
Yeah.
a great living right away. Yeah, how did you
It was a
stay?
big struggle in the beginning.
Yeah, how did you stay, happily married and peaceful and content in your job and with your family is doing something brand new like that?
Well, first of all, family first, right? So it was always about the family. I have 4 beautiful children. I have a 32-year-old son who's married and lives in Denver. I have a 28-year-old son who's married and lives in Columbus, Georgia. He's a commander at Fort Benning, a West Point graduate. My daughter's 26, and she's a chief of staff and director level at Amex. She reports to the #4 person in the country at Amex. So she's a very high achiever. And I have a 24-year-old that just graduated from CU Boulder. So all my kids are doing really well, and they're healthy and well adjusted. I like to say they're people of great character, of which I give their mom a lot of the credit. But we spent a lot of time with our kids, and it was always about giving them as much as we could possibly give them, which came naturally to my wife and I. We made a decision early on. We were fortunate enough that I was able to make enough money that she could stay home and raise our kids.
Yeah.
And she has a career now, now that the kids are all gone outside of the kids.
Yeah.
But we're a very tight family. So it was always about the family. So staying happy for me, doing things with my children and helping my clients. So it wasn't really a stretch because I love what I do. Financially, it was hard. And it wasn't always easy, and we weren't always, the happiest couple in the world. But as couples that survived do, because we didn't want to become a statistic,
Yeah.
we didn't want our kids to become a statistic, so we worked through it, and it wasn't easy. But I've often heard, the train leaves New York and it's heading to San Francisco, and there's going to be some bumps along the way, and the train might even break down. But if you stay on the train, eventually it gets to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get to San Francisco,
Yeah.
so I never got off the train.
Yeah.
That's my analogy. I mean, if you get off the train, then you're not going to get to your destination, which is raising 4 beautiful kids and growing my family and watching them grow up and get married and start their own families. And because I'm fortunate, I will never retire. I have no desire to ever retire. I may slow down a bit.
Yeah.
I'm just turned 63, but I have no desire to not continue to do what I'm doing and grow my business and help people and get paid for it.
It's so much healthier to have that mindset anyways. There's lots of research done. I hear people talk about it all the time about retiring and then getting sick, retiring and then dying, because the people,
Right.
you need a purpose. Whether you're making money or not, you need to get up every morning and have something to do that you love, that's helping other people usually. That keeps you alive, and it keeps you healthy. It actually keeps you physically and mentally healthy, having something to get up and do every day, whether it's your work or not. It's so, so important. I love the other.
I often tell people, when we're talking about what it is that I do, that tomorrow's never promised. We've all lost loved ones, and they didn't know they were going to be sick, or they didn't know the plane was going to crash, like in that Alanis Morissette song, isn't it ironic?
Yep.
Yeah, life's ironic.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yeah. So. It's so true. It's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because life is short. We had a death in our family a couple of years ago. My sister-in-law was early 50s, and my husband's friend in his mid 40s. It's like, what are you waiting for? Nothing's promised.
That's right.
People take advantage, take for granted that you're just going to have another day, another 10 years, another 5 years. I'll do this whenever. I know sometimes it's because of the kids, and you just physically or financially can't do the thing. There's always a little something you can do along the way towards your dream, or to stay happy in your relationship, to stay happy in your work. There's always something you can do. But I love your analogy about the train. So I was talking to someone the other day about, like, life's going to be hard. like, marriage is hard. I say to my
kids is hard, working is hard. It's all hard. It's all work, Julie.
Yeah, I said being married. I used to say this about being a parent. I said being a parent is hard. Being a great parent is like super, super hard. And the same thing with marriage. It's like you can just have an okay marriage, but having a really good marriage takes a lot of effort. And you're going to make it's something is going to take effort, whether it's a great job, a great marriage, being a parent. You're going to work at something. It's just a matter of picking the thing you're going to work at. So, you're not happy in your marriage and someone chooses to get divorced. I'm oversimplifying it, but you said,
But
this
it's
is hard for
true,
me.
though. I had a good example. I mean, I had parents that stayed together. I'm sure it wasn't easy. This is, I'll give you another little analogy. When I grew up, there was always milk and Cocoa Puffs. So I was happy. What did I know? Did I know about mortgages or car payments? But I tell you what, I learned quite a bit. My father got so smart and so much cooler as I got older, right? And it's funny how that works, right?
It is.
And I lost him 24 years ago, but he was such a great teacher and mentor and father. So I had a really good dad. So I was fortunate in that I had the roadmap was there. The foundation was there. I knew what a good dad was, and I knew what a good mom was and is.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a stretch. I didn't come from a broken home. I came from a home where, mom was home and I got home from school and mom had a full-time job as soon as we were in high school, and dad always worked, and they were great parents and great grandparents. So, I'm very fortunate in that. I don't take that for granted because, I coached a lot. I coached my sons. They all played sports at a very high level. They were all very athletic, and they played ice hockey and they played travel hockey. So we did quite a bit of traveling while they were young. And a friend of mine at the time was working for the NHL. And he was telling me about the NHL families. And we've all seen like the draft on TV when the kids from college get picked for their college football or hockey team, what have you. And he said, hockey's unique because especially travel hockey, you spend so much time in your car. We called it windshield time with your kids.
Yeah.
So that's where they did their homework. That's where we did flashcards. That's, it wasn't playtime. The car time was study time and FaceTime with your kid.
Right.
And then when you got to the rink, if you weren't coaching, you were just a parent. You would go do your work with your laptop or, go out and get a bite to eat while the kids were getting ready to play, what have you.
Yeah.
But it was so much quality time with the kids that it really was a wonderful experience. And hockey's unique like that. So I had 3 boys that played travel hockey. So I got a bunch of windshield time with my kids.
Yeah.
And kind of, there are some sayings in my life with my kids, and it's lead, follow, or get out of the way. And if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. And they've kind of taken that to heart. And I see it now because my son is the #1 guy at his company in Denver in tech. My other son went to West Point and graduated class of 2016, and he's a company commander at U.S. Army at Fort Benning. He just returned from Afghanistan. Yeah. My 26-year-old daughter's chief of staff and director level at 26 at Amex. And my 24-year-old, the sky's the limit. He's working. Yeah. But, he's just kind of started his career. But there's an Italian word. It's called kvel. Kvell. I'm kidding. It's Yiddish. But, it's, my heart is filled with joy because of how great my kids are. Yeah. And what else is there? That's my.
Yeah. My husband and I were talking about that the other day. We have 2 boys. They're 18 and 23. And same thing. He was involved in sports. He played baseball and basketball mostly. But yeah, having all that sitting in on the field, listening to them, car rides back and forth, taking the road trips to the weekend tournaments and stuff like that, having all that quality time. We have some awesome memories that we wouldn't have had they not been in those sports. And it was because they wanted to be. We weren't like, pick something to do. You have to have other interests, but that's what they love doing. And we ended up having a ton of great time with them. And we have a lot of great memories, just the 4 of us hanging out, Battle Creek, awesome. Michigan, and weird places that you never would have gone if you didn't have a tournament there. Kind of fun. Yeah. So what do you tell your kids? So as the older ones, what did you tell them as they were growing up, searching for a meaningful career, one where they could use their strengths? Or, were you just like, get a good job, get an education, or were you like, listen, here's what's important to keep in mind? How did you counsel them?
It's funny. I don't recall a whole lot of counseling almost, and I don't mean to sound conceited. It was almost like lead by example. It was like, this is what I do. Yeah. This is what I've done. So when the kids were growing up, we lived in Northern Virginia, they all loved this band called Creed. I don't know if you know who Creed is. All right, so they loved Creed. Yeah. And I'll tell you a very funny story. At the time, we were in between dogs. We had lost our dog. So my wife and I had always had dogs at home since we were married and together. and or children at home. So here we are, we're 3 kids in and we lost our 2 dogs. So we had to get a dog. So when we got our new dog, the kids got to name the dog, and they wanted to name the dog Jagger. And you and I, in my world, Jagger, I think Mick Jagger.
Mm-hmm.
No, Scott Stapp, the lead singer of Creed, named his son Jagger after Mick Jagger. So talk about the 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah,
But my kids saw me, as a really hardworking guy who played hard I played hard and I worked hard. And I think that's really resonated with them. They didn't need to be counseled because their whole life they heard lead follower, get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. And my daughter was just naturally smart. She had really no interest in sports. She was a bookworm at a very young age, and at 8 years old was reading at a high school level. Because when we go to the rinks, we lived in hockey rinks. She had her little bag, with dolls and books.
Yep.
So and super smart kid. The boys, although are all very smart, were not necessarily book smart.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to study. They would rather have been
right. It's more typical for boys. Yeah.
Right. I kid my middle son Josh, he's a captain in the U.S. Army now, and just got a command. His mistress was the gym. He had no time for dating or girls, so he was constantly working out because he wanted his body to be in physical shape so he could take the abuse of being a Division I hockey player. So it just it's just interesting. And
it's also I talk about support or guidance or like what you're saying to people, but you're right, they will go way further with what you show them than with what you tell them, because you could have said be a great guy, and if you were a jerk at home they would have been like, I see him being a jerk, doesn't matter, he's telling me to be a great guy. And I'm not saying that. It's so more impactful to watch you do the right thing. And my husband used to say that too. I'd say like they can help, like have Jake go take out the garbage. He's like, I'm showing them how to take care of a family. When you're the dad and you're the head of the household, you take the garbage out. And if I wanted them to, they would, and they will. But this is how they're going to take care of their family when they have one. The husband does this, so he did same thing, led by example, and have conversations when they had questions. But it's more about what are you modeling, and how are you treating your wife, and how are you treating the other people in your family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it all goes together.
Yeah. So I mean, growing up, I always thought, I'm sure it's not that unusual, a young kid growing up, I always thought, I'll be a professional hockey player, I'll be an athlete. And I strived for that. I was never good enough, but that was the dream, that was the vision. But then what I really enjoyed doing was making money. So I was very entrepreneurial at a very young age. I had 2 paper routes, not one.
Yeah.
And when it snowed, I shoveled driveways. And we even went out one year and we spray painted in bright yellow paint with stencils your house number in front of your house on the curb and asked for a donation. If you have a fire or someone needs an ambulance, how are the police and fire department going to find your house if they don't know what number you are? Just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that morphed into, I grew up in a beach town, a small beach town. So we all surfed, and we would be starved, jonesing for something to do when there were no waves, because you can't make waves. Now they do. Now they have home wave machine places where you can go and surf year round with no waves in the middle of the desert. Mm-hmm. When you go up at the beach, you need a swell and you need weather. Mm-hmm. So what I figured out again early on was, oh, wow, I can rent a film from a company in California that shows people surfing all around the world, and people will pay and come to my movie event. So I'd rent the movie on a Thursday. It would be delivered to me on a Friday. And I'd rent like a VFW or a church hall, and I'd put up posters, and we'd raffle off surfboards and skateboards. And I made more money on the intermission selling snacks because everybody went out and partied in between the breaks. So we give them a long enough break to go out, to come back in, and they were all hungry. And I made more money on the snacks, but that was interesting and fun. So I did surf films in the summer and ski films in the winter. And so it was always, like I said, very entrepreneurial, and I loved marketing. But that's why I think I really found my niche in insurance, because I was able to find a program and a product and a service where I could help people and consult them and get paid for it. Yeah. And it's very interesting. It's not like selling shoes or running a restaurant. Yeah. I have had employees in the past, but I don't have any inventory. I don't have to buy something and put it on a shelf that has a shelf life that I have to finance. My products, like I said, they're intangible. They're built by an insurance company over there.
Yeah.
So they give me my inventory as needed.
Yeah.
And really the model is help people, learn about them, find out what their needs are. It's really called a needs-based analysis. And then you help them based upon their need, whether it's personal or business, and you within a budget. And excuse me, very important is that you answer the phone when it rings or the text or the email, because a lot of people that don't succeed in this business don't want to do the work that it takes to service the client after you've made the sale.
Yeah, and that's what's going to keep
really important.
going.
You know, it's two things that are really important, because you made the sale and you promised service.
Right.
You better service your account.
Yeah.
Because people talk. And on the internet today, if you don't do a good job, they're going to slay you.
And that's going to be your future. Yeah.
That is, they give you referrals and they give you pats on the back. So I think it's so important. And again, I don't think it's unique in my business. People that are good and survive and that are successful do the things that other people don't want to do.
Right.
You know, I mean, look, how many
about that the other day? Like if everyone just gave up when it got hard, nothing cool or new,
right?
Would ever get accomplished, because it is harder. That's why people fail faster. They give up too soon. They don't want to do the work. It's too hard. It's like, well, all the good things worth having are.
I laugh when people say, well, time is money. And I'm like, no. Time is time and money is money. I can't make more time.
Right.
I can make more money.
Right.
So I better make the best out of my time.
You're right.
And one of the things I think you had asked me about, what would make, if I was giving advice to someone else, whether it's my kids or anybody else, how would I, guide them or help them? And I would tell them to listen to their internal voice. And I would tell them to do something that makes them happy. Because I think so many people get up and go to a job, even in COVID, whether they're staying home, going to a job, or lucky enough to still go to an office if that's what they were doing, or be on the road. But if they're not happy at what they do and they're spending 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day doing it, they're going to be unhappy. They'll turn to other things to fill that void, whatever that is. And it's not healthy. So I would tell people, really listen to that internal voice and do what makes you happy, because you'll be more productive and you'll be a happier person.
100%. I heard a life coach saying on this class I was on the other day, she said, I have never, and she's been doing it for years. So she's in her late 50s, but she's been a life coach.
Oh God, she's old.
No, I'm saying my point is,
kidding.
She's been a life coach. She's in her late 50s, but I think she's been a life coach for at least 20 or 25 years. So she's been coaching a long time. And she said she's never, ever, ever talked to one person that said, I followed my gut and it was wrong. Like I listened to my intuition and it was wrong. Most people will say, I didn't listen. I'm pissed I didn't listen. I should have, it's just, and if she's talking to that many people, she's written books, she's an author, and she's this life coach. And I'm thinking to myself, she's always talking to people about helping them grow. And I'm like, and if she can say that and been in that business for that long and never heard anyone say, yeah, I followed my gut and I was wrong. You're not wrong. There's a reason you have a gut telling you something. There's a reason you have an intuition. There's a reason you're supposed to follow that internal voice. It's there for a reason. No one's ever going to have the same voice as you. No one's ever going to know what you want the same way. So I just thought it was an interesting, hearing her say that and knowing how long she's been in business, I'm like, wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, it really is. And again, it's all in the same theme. At the end of life, people aren't like, they don't talk about what they did. They talk about what they didn't do.
Right.
Or what they wish they'd gone on that cruise, or, gone to Mount Everest, or whatever it is. Yeah. And the truth is you can't take it with you. And this is, again, why I love what I do. I help people, I call it legacy planning. It's like, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered? Are you charitable? What's your cause? Like, what are you passionate about? Upon your passing, do you want to help your alma mater? Or do you want to, save the whales, or whatever it is? And people don't realize that you can do that. Part of the planning I do is charitable giving.
Oh, I love that.
And why do you think wealthy families have foundations? It's not like they're that philanthropic. They are,
Right.
but they're doing it because they're getting a tax break, or their kids are the kids of wealthy people that didn't have to go work hard, unfortunately, and they're kind of lost. So we have to create jobs for them to run foundations.
Oh,
We
geez.
fund it with money and they get a tax break.
Wow.
It's a little, it sounds negative, but you know what? You're keeping people working.
Yeah.
You're
For a
doing
good cause.
yeah, exactly. So hopefully their cause is a good one and a wholesome one. And,
I love that you're asking like, what's your legacy? Because just handing your kids money is not a legacy. Handing it to them and not showing them what it is to work for something or be passionate about something or follow their intuition or dream or voice. That's not leaving a legacy. Having good kids to me is leaving a legacy. Having good character human beings is leaving a legacy. But after that, like, I don't want to hand all my kids, my two kids, all of our money when we're done. I mean, sure, it would be nice to help them a little bit. But that's not going to make them better human beings. I love that question. Like, yeah, what are you passionate about? What do you really honor? What do you like? I think it's silly that there's people on the planet that don't have clean drinking water. Like, there's plenty of water on our planet. Everyone's got clean water. We know how to make it, right? It's such a simple thing. It's such a simple, it's a luxury for them. We take it for granted every day.
Absolutely.
You think about if there weren't people out there doing anything about it. I mean, we're all, I love that there are people doing that. I love that there were people donating to those causes to say, hey, thank you for starting it. And here's some money to help you because I didn't start it and I couldn't start it or whatever. But I can do something about it and make it grow.
Yeah, I remember having those conversations with my kids when they were very young and altruistic, and they were going to save the world, and they were going to go to the Peace Corps, and they were going to go to South America and teach the indigenous people how to read and farm. And I was like, no, you're not. I'm like, first of all, as long as you're living in my house and I'm paying for your food and your clothes and your education, you're not taking the summer off to go into the woods of South America. I said, I love you too much and I've got too much invested in you to, God forbid, have something happen. I said, the best thing you can do, although that's noble, is go get a great education and make money and then donate to the causes that you believe in, that you're passionate about. I said, but as long as you're my kid, I love you too much to lose you. So, I mean, and it wasn't like I wanted to say that, but it just scared me.
There's a danger,
it was scary as a parent, So
but you're right. Yeah, get educated and do something about it with your money, with your brain, with your power that you'll have behind you after that. Yeah.
Exactly. So in that respect, like I said, my legacy is my kids. I love helping people. Like I said, I wake up every day. And because it's who I am, and I love marketing and helping people, and I get paid to help people. It's amazing. It's not easy. It's hard work, but again, another little Michaelism. Anything that's worthwhile takes a while. Nothing happens overnight. I was talking with a friend of mine who's a home builder. He's originally from your area. I think he's from Skokie, and he's in Amelia Island, Florida now, and he's doing very well due to COVID in the market. And the people that have most of the money are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s because they worked their whole lives and have accumulated assets. So he's doing very well, and he's building beautiful homes, custom homes. And his name's Lenny. And I said, Lenny, this is great. It only took you 30 years to be an overnight success. He did what he was passionate about, and he loved building, and he's a builder. And now he's finally, really for the first time in his adult life, hitting his stride in that people are showing up on his doorstep saying, I want to build me a house, instead of him having to try to find them, they're finding him.
Takes time.
And that's interesting, and that's, if you think about that. So.
But if he had given up, he never would have people at his door saying, can you do this for me now?
He loves what he does. And that's the thing. I think if you love what you do and you stick to it, you don't give up, you don't get off the train, you will get to your destination.
Yeah. You're right. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question for you. What is the greatest gift you bring every day to the world?
It's hopefully two answers. Humor, because laughter is the best medicine. And hopefully a little bit of joy. Help make somebody else's day a little bit happier.
I love that. We all need more of that, especially now with everything going on. That's why it's one of the chapters in my book, Joy, because it doesn't need to be complicated or cost a lot of money. You can just do that by, like you said, making someone laugh, bringing humor to a situation and just like helping people be comfortable and laugh and smile. It's like, that's what it's all about. And P.S., when you're feeling that way, better things happen quicker.
Yep.
You know, as opposed to the opposite.
My dad, may he rest in peace, always said you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. So sweeten the world.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yep.
Nice one. Well, thank you, Mike. I learned a lot. It was fun talking to you and inspiring. And I know that people are going to be inspired when they hear your interview, because you had a lot of good things to say and insights.
Thank you. Well, you're very easy to talk to, and I appreciate the platform.
Thank you. And so if people want to work with you or find out more about the new business and then your company, what do they have to be on the East Coast?
Well, the new business, and again, just because it's timely, is www.selfcertified.com. And again, it's just a wonderful place to gather good information. And we will have a store open hopefully next week and an app up, and they'll be able to buy products at deeply discounted costs, because that's one of our focuses and core mission is to not charge what these people are charging right now for all these products and programs. And that's really cool. My company, CPT Wealth, is www.cptwealthstrategies.com. And my email is cptwealth@gmail.com. So you can email me, you can look at my website, any way you want to find me, and that's awesome. Yeah, I'm always, any referral's a good referral.
Awesome. What is your legacy? I love that. Think about that as we leave.
Yeah. Well,
thanks, Mike. Peace. Yes. Peace, peace, peace. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.